Mix some 75% sugar paste with 25% flour paste and then roll a piece size 14 using a size guide into a sausage and press it down into the smallest draped cavity. Work from the end nearest to you so that the paste moves along the mould and the excess can be trimmed using a scraper. Turn the mould at right angles and starting part way along the swag, trim the excess, keeping pressure on the paste using your finger to stop it sliding out of the cavity while you work. Smooth, then turn the mould and scrape away the excess from the other end. More detail on this technique can be seen on the How to Use CelShapes Molds tutorial. Use a fine bladed palette knife to trim a little paste from the straight edge of the swag to make sure that it is neat. Make sure not to be too heavy-handed since this could cause damage to the plastic. Gently run the knife along the curved edge. Release the paste from the mould before peeling it out. Do not lift and stretch, but ease gently, keeping it low to the mould. Measure the circumference of your cake with a tape measure. Multiple swags should be used around the cake, so its circumference should be divisible by the number you choose. Use a measure to determine how long your swags would need to be. Remember, if you wish to attach the swags with a curved upper edge, take this into account at this stage. If the swag is too long, trim as required and then use a scriber to mark points around the cake so you have a guide where the joins should be. Once you have placed the icing into the mould, you will need to remove the excess using a scraper. Make sure to smooth the paste well before removing the tail from the mould. Use a piece of paste the shape of a dog bone to mould the bow. Press the paste in firmly. The excess is removed across the bow rather than from end to end as with many of the other pieces. Turn the mould and remove the second half of the excess and smooth the back well before removing. Carefully release the paste bow from the mould using a palette knife and peel gently from the cavity. Slide the point of the CelStick CS under the middle of each loop and then lift upwards while supporting the outside edges with your fingers. By moving your fingers together very slightly, you will be able to encourage the paste to curve upward. Use the stick to curve the tail along its length. Introduce a curve or twist to make it look more authentic. Leave to dry slightly before transferring to your cake. Having moistened the back of the moulded swag with water or piped with icing, it can be placed in position and attached to the cake. A soft piece of sponge is used to press along the swag's length so that you do not damage it with your fingertips. Smooth gently to check it has bonded well. Use a palette knife to trim the end of the swag if it has stretched slightly during application. Make sure the joins where the swags meet are neat. Once the tails have dried a little, they are attached over the joins between the lengths of swag. Pipe a bead of softened icing at the base of the tail, another where the top will be positioned on the cake, and press into place. Pipe another bead on the join and attach the bow. Adjust the positioning so the top of the bow sits proud of the cake's surface. The lattice has been added with softened paste and left to firm. Pipe along the top and bottom edges of a swag using softened sugar paste. Press gently to make sure the swag has bonded to the cake. Smooth using your fingers. Trim the swag using a palette knife so it lines up with the end of the lattice and also the corner of the cake. Make sure not to add too much pressure since this could cause damage. Using a silicone shaper, check the swag is still well attached, then where necessary, draw the flexible tip along the folds to accentuate any markings. Also, neaten and merge the paste joins between the swags. Turn the cake so that you can view the corners in turn and make sure the swags are positioned so they appear level. Cut a fine strip of white flour paste to around 10 cm in length. Pipe a small bead of softened icing onto the strip, approximately halfway along it, and bend the end over and attach to create a loop. Press the join, for example, with the CelShapes CS to secure. Repeat to make a second loop. Align the end of the ribbon and trim the bottom of the tails into a V. Pipe softened icing along the join between the two swags. Thread a CelShapes CS through a loop of your ribbon tie and attach so it sits just proud of the swag's top edge. Check the positioning before leaving to dry.